I must admit that I really don't like the process of cleaning the sensor on my Nikon Z6, but I accept that it is necessary to get the job done just once in a while. The cleaning process will free the sensor from spots of dust and dirt, and if you're not comfortable with the process, you may want to pay a professional to do it. Then it's on them should something happen to your camera in the process. I will show you how to clean the sensor, and based on that, I hope you can assess if you want to give it a try or leave it to professionals. So first thing is to take stock of the situation with a picture. And it is indeed a very strange picture I take. I shoot a white wall, I shoot out of focus, and I do that to secure that there's no structures in what comes out of the image. I shoot at base ISO, and this is just to maximize the shutter speed so it gets as long as possible. I also, to that end, shoot at a very small aperture, say f22 or whatever your lens will allow. And then I shoot at aperture priority, so I just leave the shutter speed to be whatever is necessary to get a correctly exposed picture. And then finally, I also, to be absolutely sure there's no structure in the image other than the dust on the sensor, I move the camera while shooting. So make sure you shoot something without structure, out of focus, and you move the camera while shooting. Then you should be absolutely sure you have something where the only stable thing in the image is the dust on the sensor. So if you go and do all that, you get maybe something like this, an image where you can clearly see the spots. As you can see here, I have pulled the slider, the dehaze slider, to help me identify where the spots are. Maybe that will also help you in seeing the spots a bit better. Another alternative is to use the spot removal tool. It sits top right if you're in the development mode. And here you can see the visualized spots. If you hit that one, then you get some help to actually see the spots. There also is a slider that you can use to maybe make them even more visible. So that's the way you can identify the spots, and now you have a good picture of before cleaning, and hopefully you will see some effects of your efforts here when you take a second picture after the cleaning is done. You will notice there is a little error here. If you're very, very sharp when it comes to the sensor sizes, you know that the full frame sensor on the Z6 is roughly 6,000 by 4,000. And as you can see here, this is roughly 4,000 by 2,600. So something is off. And the thing that is off is that I have forgotten that I put my camera in DX mode. And therefore this image only gives me the center part of the sensor. Of course, I need to take an image where I use the entire sensor. And as you can see here now, it's 6 by 4. I have many more spots here. And if I just show you here, those 3, if I go to the full frame, you can see they are here again, a little bit smaller, as you would expect. At the risk of being called King Obvious, make sure, of course, that when you take your image, that you use the entire sensor and have your camera in FX mode and not in DX mode. So here a little lineup of what you will need. And if I start out with the rocket thing here, it basically just lets out air of a very, very small hole here. So when you push on the body of the rocket here, it will let out air in a very, very small stream here, and it will be relatively powerful. So I find it is super efficient for cleaning basically anything. I mean, it can be dust anywhere, but especially dust on and around your sensor. But be careful not to hit the sensor with the top here of the blower, because otherwise you may hurt the sensor, of course. So keep a safe working distance when you use this one. But this one is the first tool I use, and I will show you in a little while when I do that. The second tool, which I just show you for demonstration purposes, that is this thing. It's a brush where I think the thinking is you make it static by applying it or rubbing it against some clean surface. In my experience, this thing doesn't work. It only makes things worse. But I wanted you to be aware of that there is such a thing here, and you can of course give it a try. In my experience, it just distributes the dirt and the dust. It doesn't really do anything good as far as I have tried. So this one I will put to a side, and I cannot recommend that particular tool. Then there is the cleaning sensor here, and I will say be sure to buy the sensor that fits your sensor size. This is a full frame sensor, as you can see. And I have tried to clean a full frame sensor with APS-C size cleaning swabs. That didn't result in anything good. So don't try to save some money here and buy an APS-C cleaning swab. Nothing good will come out of that in my experience. So the thinking is, if you imagine my hand is the sensor, that you drag it or swipe it like this from one side to the other, and then you go back again. And you apply a light pressure, no force here, a light pressure. It can be a little bit difficult when you get to the far side here, because you will meet sort of the edge of the camera here. So when you change direction, just be sure that you do everything you can to maintain the same light touch as you had throughout the entire sensor here. If your sensor has a lot of dust, you can use sensor cleaner, which is basically some fluid you apply to the swab, and then it helps release or get rid of the difficult spots. Don't use anything but dedicated camera sensor cleaner, or cleaner designed for this purpose. Don't use cleaner for the lens or for your screen or anything else. Use something like this. You can see here they come in different versions. This one is with a spray, and this is where you drop there's a small hole, so you drop out a little bit on the sensor using that. I find this one difficult to use because I always end up putting way too much cleaner on the swab, so I leave that one to the side. But this one I find is easy to use. If your sensor is less dirty, you can just use the swab here without the fluid, but mine is extremely dirty, as you saw in the image, so I will apply a little bit of fluid. And that's actually all there is to it. So let's get cracking, and I start with the rocket thing here. And in general, I will say it's wise to use gravity as your friend. So normally I would clean, with the sensor, like holding the camera like this, but for demonstration purposes, I show you what I'm doing here. So I'm just cleaning the sensor using the rocket like this. Also clean around the sensor, because if there is dust inside here, then that dust potentially could later be sitting on your sensor, right? So think of it as you're cleaning the entire area around the sensor as well. So that's really all there is to it. You could, if you're really, really careful, you can take a picture now and see how much dust this has removed. But I will just move on to cleaning the sensor and then show you the final result. As you can see, this one comes vacuum packed, and don't touch the white part here at all. In the best of worlds, don't even touch it with the cleaner here. Sometimes I find it can be a bit difficult to apply the cleaner without actually touching, you can say, the swab here. Whoop. You can see 1, 2, I normally apply 3 drops, and just make sure that the fluid is on both sides of the swab. You can see here there's a lot here now, and there's a little bit less here. I hope that is visible. So I'm moving, as I showed you before. I'm just taking the sensor, putting it down, dragging it from left to right. I mean, you can do it from right to left. That's not the important thing. No force applied here. That's important. And then I go the other direction. Like this. And as you can see, the tricky part is to get, when you get to the far side, because the sensor sits in a hole, right? So you need to change the angle as you get closer to the far side of the sensor, and the same when you swipe back again. The swab here is only for one-time use. This one has been used now, so I need to throw it out, and you should as well. Don't try and reuse it. They are not designed for that, so make sure you throw it out as soon as you have finished the job. So that's actually it, and now we're ready to see if the cleaning has done anything good to all the spots on the sensor. So the final step is to compare before and after, and as you can see here to the left is before and after is to the right. If we just zoom in, you can see that some of these spots here, they have clearly been removed when I compare the two. You will probably never get a perfect result, and you can see if I look at the after image, there's still some spots, and you can repeat the process if you want to. That will of course help, but I think you have to accept that you will probably never get a fully clean sensor. There will always be a little bit dust here and there, but for sure, as you can see here, it is much better in the after picture than it is in the before picture here to the left. And towards the end of the video here, I just want to reiterate, if you're not comfortable with this process, make sure to get professionals to do it for you. Then it's also on them and their insurance should something happen to your camera. As always, happy shooting, take care, bye bye.